The Justice Department says it will continue to release more of the Epstein files on a rolling basis, blaming any delays on releasing all of the files on the time-consuming process of obscuring victims' names and other identifying information.
But just the sheer amount of people with insane amounts of money that are attached to them. What a crazy operation they were running. What a crazy thing. To have a bunch of people fly them out to an island that somehow or another you own. Have you got a video?
No.
Pull that video up.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
As the latest Epstein files hit the public, Joe Rogan didn't mince words. On his podcast, he pointed out something that immediately caught his attention: the timing. According to Rogan, the moment these documents started dropping, powerful people went quiet, disappeared from public view, or suddenly weren't in the country anymore.
People that are in the position to actually know the people's names on the list, those people are probably in trouble.
Yeah.
Because that's a crazy piece of information to have.
Look.
No one's been tried. No one's been brought. No one's been discussed. We know who went there. We know flight logs. No one talks about anything. There's no effort to prosecute. There's no effort to... And then you have Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in jail for trafficking to...
Rogan questioned why that happens every time uncomfortable information comes out. These allegations have gone viral online, especially after the U.S. Department of Justice released thousands of new documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. The files include photos, testimony summaries, and government records tied to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence. The release was forced by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a law meant to push the government to open all remaining unclassified material. But even now, much of the information is blacked out. Transparency groups say the public is still only seeing pieces of the full picture. Things got even stranger when media outlets noticed that at least 16 files suddenly disappeared from the DOJ website. One of those reportedly included a photo of President Donald Trump.
That included an image of President Trump appears to have been removed from the Justice Department's Epstein Files website shortly after it was published. The image was part of a new batch of files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation published Friday. The file, numbered 468, was missing as of Saturday at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, with the site skipping from 467 to 469.
You can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned after releasing that photograph that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up, and the only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo.
Many of the files have redactions, some of which appear to be applied inconsistently. Content is redacted in some instances, but not others. In some cases, whole pages and even whole documents are redacted, as my colleague Jake Tapper points out here.
It's just 100 pages of redaction. That's the transparency we're getting here.
What the Justice Department told Congress in a letter is that it believes it can black out information to protect victims, despite a law that required all files to be released and allowing for defined categories to protect the victims. The Justice Department didn't meet a 30-day congressionally imposed deadline requiring it to release all the documents.
We are complying with the statute. We will continue to comply with the statute. And if by complying with the statute, we don't produce everything on Friday, we produce things next week and the week after, that's still compliance with the statute.
President Trump was headed down here to Palm Beach as these files were released. He's said before that he got to know Epstein as part of the social circle in this wealthy enclave. The Trump administration has lost plenty of credibility when it comes to the handling of these documents, and the missing files and redacted information are only likely to add fuel to public suspicion that the government is hiding information about Epstein. Analysis by CNN also found that Trump's name and appearance were limited, while there appears to be a heavy dose of former President Bill Clinton, which a Clinton spokesperson said amounted to the Trump administration, quote, shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try and hide.
Joe Rogan thinks that kind of thing is a red flag because if files are vanishing after release, that tells you someone's nervous. Despite the redactions, some major facts did come out. One document confirms the FBI was warned about Epstein years before his first arrest. In 1996, survivor Maria Farmer contacted the FBI with serious allegations. According to the files, no meaningful action followed.
So there's a big triumph to finally get some documents. And one of the documents we received and were able to pull out very quickly was the confirmation that Maria actually did this report in 1996, just as she's been saying for a very long time. So that's triumphant, but it's also tragic because to have to wait 30 years to have some kind of justice and accountability is truly tragic. I certainly think there's much more to this story than was acknowledged previously. And that's why we're delighted that at least some of the files have been released. Not all of the files, approximately half is what we've been told. But there's many in those files, and I've just been scouring them very quickly myself, that already are in the public domain. They released all the FOIA requests, all the FBI vault that we already knew about. But just to double back 1 minute for what happened with Maria, if I may. What happened with Maria, she reported Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, but she also reported his child pornography. And that is another terrible illegality. And that's something that the government failed to even address in their efforts to prosecute either Epstein or Maxwell. And that is truly tragic.
After the release, Farmer spoke publicly and said she finally felt heard. She said she feels redeemed, calling it one of the best days of my life. The files also include newly released grand jury transcripts. These describe how investigators interviewed multiple underage girls and young women years ago. Testimony shows how long these patterns went on and how many chances authorities had to step in earlier. Why did it never happen? Many people have speculated that it was because Jeffrey Epstein was actually an asset for the Mossad, collecting blackmail material on American politicians so they could use it to influence policy and control things at a governmental level. Joe Rogan seems to have validated that theory with speculation of his own.
Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state-funded... You're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and you know there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric.
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so they're juggling around. While
he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught a lot of nerds in that net. There's a lot of those 100%. Guys that wound up going to that island. They probably thought, this is great. We get to party.
Nothing's free.
And they probably felt like they were rock stars because they get to hang out with the intellectual elite on an island with a guy who's just a billionaire philanthropist who's eccentric, who just loves women. He's a professed bachelor. And it all seemed too good to be true.
It's so true.
Because it was.
Yeah.
So I think he was an asset. Whether or not it was for the Mossad strictly, or Israel strictly, or the United States strictly, whether it was a CIA thing, I don't know. But I think it was probably a part of a blackmail compromise effort.
Photos released alongside the documents are now spreading fast online. Many were taken from Epstein's homes during FBI searches. Some are heavily blacked out, but recognizable faces remain. Former President Bill Clinton appears in multiple photos. One shows him swimming with Ghislaine Maxwell. Another shows him in a hot tub with a woman whose face is blacked out. Clinton has not been charged or accused in connection with Epstein's case. The thing about Bill Clinton, though, is that Joe actually exposed him for being a predator 7 years ago, almost a year before Epstein even died.
There's major problems with the Clinton Foundation. It's not even around anymore. They shut
I
it
didn't
down.
know that. I didn't even know that.
It's a dark legion. And meanwhile, she's doing all this Me Too talk. Her husband's a goddamn predator.
Yeah.